This is an uncensored podcast about sex, sexuality, gender, and body stuff. Listener discretion is advised. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the person or persons sharing them. Some names have been changed to protect the anonymity of its participants.
Hello, my friends. It's Drew Michael, and I'm just so happy, guys. Oh my God, happy Pride. Just a different person this week. Believe it or not, I do my best when I live alone. And my parents, whom I love, left this week to go bye-bye. They went to they're traveling the country, not in a motorhome, but I kind of wish they had a motorhome, but they are going all over the place, and they didn't invite me, which I'm just like, whatever. I wanted you to get a life, and you did, and I'll get my own, and it's wonderful. So I'm very happy that I have the whole house to myself, and I can really pretend, but I'm not going to let myself be too delusional, because I do need to have goals. I do need to think like, okay, this isn't really my house, and we will be needing to get an actual house of my own, or apartment, or whatever. My goal is to move out by Christmas, so it's June. And I don't mean Christmas in July. I mean the real one. So anyway, today's a very special episode. And of course, this is Make Sex With Me, a podcast where every episode's a special one, but especially this one. I have a very special guest on today, and his name is Dr. Elliot Justin. And I'm going to read to you a little bit about some of his accolades as soon as I can locate them. But in the meantime, please do remember to rate, review, subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And don't be shy about giving us 5-star reviews. I mean, that would be totally, totally fine if you just gave us 5 stars. I'd be all about that. I would accept it. Sorry, I'm trying to Google things while I'm talking, and I'm amazing. And don't forget, it's totally fine if you want to write in makesexwithmepodcast@gmail.com. You can do that. Okay, so without further ado, our guest today, Dr. Elliot Justin, is the CEO and founder of Firm Tech, the first sex tech company dedicated to improving men's erectile fitness. He has a background in emergency medicine and healthcare technology consulting. Dr. Justin is also a serial healthcare entrepreneur, having founded and sold Pegasus Emergency Group and Swift MD. He has provided guidance to various services, telemedicine, and tech startups. Dr. Justin pursued, reading is my thing, pursued Slavic studies at Harvard University and studied medicine at Boston University. Oh my God. The day has been short and full of unexpected universalities. He's happily married for 35 years and father of 3 children. Apparently he lives in Montana. That's so funny because he's you'll hear he's so East Coast. I don't know if it's a Boston accent or New York, but he's like my people. It says he lives with his wife Anne, with 3 energetic mares and a flock of chickens. He's a passionate trail rider who sometimes imagines, to his wife's chagrin, that he's a centaur. I see that. I see that for him. I think you guys will see that too. Also, this guy's like 71, or at least he was. I think 71, he says, at the time of recording. And he's like very energetic, very quick. He knows he's smart as fuck. And he shines some light on um like the whole like men's erectile health field, and I think you'll see that it's so much more important than just like, can guys get boners. There's some really cool stuff that I learned from him, so I'm excited to share this with you. And here we are, our interview with Dr. Elliot Justin. Thanks. So hi, Dr. Elliot, how are you?
Great. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, totally. It's so nice to have actual professionals on my podcast instead of just my friends that they're smart in other ways, let's say. Um, Tell me a little bit about yourself. What's your background?
Sure. Well, my background is in emergency medicine. And short of a heart attack or a stroke, there's no emergency that concerns a man more than a limp dick. So I got involved in medical technology in 2015 and was working with some very sophisticated devices. And then a urologist, professor at the University of Utah, contacted me probably about 3 years ago and said he wants to count the number of nocturnal erections. I said, what the fuck for? Why do we care? Because we all know about morning wood and we laugh about it, but why do we care about nocturnal erections? Because I was ignorant about it, as are probably almost every doctor and almost everyone in the world. So he said that there are like 10 papers verifying this, that nocturnal erections in men are a leading indicator of the cardiovascular health. A leading indicator in medicine is a very powerful phrase, because in medicine we treat things as just associations. So for example, high blood pressure is associated with stroke and heart attack, but it's not a leading indicator. Whereas if a man's nocturnal erections go down, that man in time is going to have a heart attack or a stroke. It might be a year or two, but that man is going to have a problem, or he has a major medication side effect. So this really intrigued me because this would now become a sixth vital sign, and one that's a lot more interesting to men than the rest of the vital signs.
Yeah, I had no idea that was one of the signs of poor cardiovascular health. That's very interesting.
And you would know because you're sleeping.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So specifically the erections that you're having while you're sleeping, not just like morning wood, but like while you're sleeping.
Correct. Right. But this doctor, like most doctors, is ignorant about sex toys, and I'm not. So when he said this to me, my thought was, well, why just stop at counting nocturnal erections? Why not measure the duration and firmness of all erections? Because what interests men more? What's happening overnight while they're asleep, or what's happening when they're trying to have sex? So that led to this, the technology that we're selling right now. And in order to count the number of nocturnal erections, we had to reinvent the cock ring, which meant that not only could we get data, but we now have the opportunity to reinvent a device that's been made in the same stupid way for 150 years. It's basically an O-ring, like a gasket or a noose for your dick, that we'd actually have to come up with something that was comfortable in order to be worn for hours.
Yeah. So you started a company called FirmTech, correct?
Correct.
And you have a product that is, as you're saying, it's measuring the quality of your erections during sex. How often do you wear this thing? Like all the time?
We
And
have
not just
people
you,
who wear
but
all the time.
anybody.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we have 3 products, but I'll talk about 2 of them. The Tech Ring is the one that has the sensors embedded into it. So in addition to being an effective cock ring, it also will give men data. So worn overnight, we count the number of nocturnal erections, the duration and firmness. Worn during sex, we measure the duration and firmness of erection. So utilizing this data, men and the healthcare providers can now assess the impact of diseases like diabetes and hypertension, big cock killers, medications. The SSRI antidepressants and antihypertensives are also cock killers. And they can see the impact of these things and even titrate the right dose. Men can also measure the impact of diet, supplement, exercises, and even relationships upon their sexual performance. So, the cliche goes in the biohacking world, you can track it, you can hack it. And now you can track it and hack it. We live in this age of healthcare wearables, smartwatches, smart rings, and now we have the world's first smart underwearable.
Oh, that's funny. I like that. I mean, yeah, and the whole idea of sex tech being a huge thing is new to me too. Like, I guess I just thought, oh, this guy knows a lot about like vibrators and dildos and all the different things they have out there. I knew you could control a vibrator with your cell phone, I guess. That's as far as I understood it to be. But it's much further than that.
Yeah, well, there are novelties and niches. So niches would be in the sex tech world. A niche would be well. I'll put it this way: I break it down to things that are just for fun and things that are for health. And the things that are for health, they tend to be niches, and they're almost all on the female side. They're here's another wearable to see where you are in your cycle, or here's a dipstick to tell whether you or a guy has an STD, or those things are niches, and I don't want to diss them. They're valuable. There are, but then there's teledildonics, which is what you're talking about, which is essentially we're using. Hey, you and I are having an affair, and right now we each have a vibrating dildo up our butt, and we can watch the same generative AI pornography, and and I can buzz you while you're et cetera, et cetera. Those things are novelties, and I don't want laugh about them too much. They're fun, but they're not about what we're doing. What we're doing is about two things. One, we want to give men, and we have a female product working on as well too. We want to give men data that's critical to them maintain their sexual health, and we'll also give them important information about their cardiovascular health and about their medications. That's the first part of a mission. The second part of a mission is we want to reinvent sex toys. We want to focus on developing sex toys for men and for women that, really more for men though, that are rooted in a knowledge of anatomy and physiology. So not just these old-fashioned O-rings for your put in your penis, but rings that are designed to be comfortable, to not block the arterial flow, but only constrain the venous return, and can be worn for a long period of time, and make your orgasm more intense.
Anything to make multiple orgasm possible for men, or just one really good one?
But that's a good question, and that's really think about people talk about orgasms. I want them to talk about them objectively, both men and women. So what are you really talking about? And there's a certain political push, if you will. I'll put political in quotes. Political push to be inclusive, and to not to say, hey, I had a whole body orgasm, or I just kept on coming. Well, what do you really mean by that? So for men and women, there's a particular waveform that occurs with the pubicocacegus muscle, which in men is the muscle that you can pull on to make your dick twitch, but it's also the muscle that surrounds your rectum, and it's right below your balls. So when a man has an orgasm, there's a rhythmic contraction of those muscles, and whether you also feel pleasure in your brain or in your shoulder or in your toes, that's subjective, and that's great. But it's not. I want to focus on giving men objective data, and the same thing applies to women as well too. They have the same contraction of the PCG muscle, and what's interesting is that the waveform is exactly the same. Women can have longer lasting orgasms than men, but the waveform in women is exactly the same as the waveform in men. So when it comes to multiple orgasms in men, cock rings can make them easier to attain, but the first orgasm tends to be weak. It's basically an incomplete orgasm. So if you actually look at the waveform, you'll see, as opposed to a waveform that long with a full orgasm, to see a waveform like that, like an orgasm, and then there'll be a pause, and then you'll see that, you'll resume the waveform. So I really challenge, and right now we can't measure the waveform with our device of orgasms. We can see muscle contractions in the urethra, but we can't measure the waveform of orgasm. But by the first quarter next year, we'll be adding a sensor, and we will be able to detect the waveform of orgasms, and we'll be able to essentially, maybe challenge is the wrong word, but men who claim they have multiple orgasms will be able to say, yep, see, there it is. as opposed to, hey, I had a multiple orgasm. Eating whatever, maca root, beetroot, or whatever, whatever they're
Right.
claiming.
So the device measures the contraction of the urethra during an erection.
It can. We don't provide that data. The device measures how hard you get on a 1 to 10 scale.
Okay.
And the device measures how long you last. We could provide the urethral contractions, but we found that guys weren't really interested in that, so we just we didn't do it. We maybe heck if we could bring it back by popular demand.
And this is the data you're receiving from the device isn't affected by movement, like if they're in the act of sex as opposed to like sleeping.
No, it's not affected by movement. So although we are adding a accelerometer, and next year we actually will tell you what position you had sex in, what positions you had sex in, and we'll be able to calculate the calories as you burned. That's going to be version
cool.
2.0, and the goal for that is February 25.
Well, that's really cool because a lot of people are going to start having sex to lose weight in that case. Maybe.
I just hope that people have more sex. And we know with other wearables, smartwatches, smart rings, or providers of digital information like a digital scale, people get a positive relationship with it. And if they have data, they'll take action to be more healthy. And I hope that people will have better cardiovascular health, better sexual health, be smart about their medications and about their recreational drugs once they have data.
Yeah. So the device also, does it act like a cock ring in that it like keeps the blood from escaping? So it's
Yes,
tight.
but it doesn't.
It's tight like that.
It's tight, but not as tight as most cock rings. So most cock rings, you have to, in order for them to be really effective, you have to have an erection, and then it's like a chokehold because it's choking off the arterial circulation as well as blocking the venous return. Our rings are designed because we want them to be worn for a longer period of time to not block the arterial flow in, because we want blood in, but only constrain the venous return. So they can be worn longer than conventional cock rings. Can only be worn for 20 or 30 minutes. They're made out of hard silicone that pinches. They're uncomfortable. Ours is made out of an elastomer. Our rings are adjustable. Our rings can be worn for hours.
So it's a little bit like a product that's not similar to human skin, but it's like not as foreign to like the body than like a piece of plastic.
Yeah, well, elastomer adapts to you, whereas silicone makes you adapt to it.
Can you talk a little bit more about the venous leakage and what that means? I mean, is that so common? Does it happen to everybody at a certain age or?
Yes. So there are two types of venous leak. One is it's something that men are born with, and that's usually corrected surgically. So men become aware in their late teen years, early 20s that they get erections, they lose them because they're the sphincters and the muscles in the small veins in the penis they're defective. These men often have other venous issues, and they have varicose veins. They have other venous issues, elsewhere in the body. That's a minority, though. But all men get venous leak as they get older. So, to draw an analogy, if I sat on a plane for 5 hours, I'm 71 years old, my socks might get a little bit tight, and my rings might get tight. Why is that? Because the muscles around in my small veins are not pumping the blood back to my heart as effectively as they were when I was, say, your age. Same thing happens in the penis, only there the issue is that the muscles get weak and the sphincters get weak, and therefore the blood leaks out of the penis. So, I can't hold an erection as long as I could when I was your age or a lot younger. I'm just to draw an extreme example. Heck, when I was 13 years old, I could hold some girl's hand and I get a hard on for an hour. It didn't require much stimulation, and the blood stayed there. At my age, for a variety of factors, but one of them is venous leak. I lose my erection faster, and an effective cock ring is an answer. But I break down erectile dysfunction into two categories, and doctors unfortunately often don't ask this question. They just prescribe pills. Can you attain erection? Or is it you can't sustain an erection? So if a man can't attain an erection, he's got a big problem. That man needs to see a urologist and needs a comprehensive workup. But if a man can't sustain an erection, Well, it could be due to anxiety, it could be due to distraction, it could be due to alcohol, too much marijuana, it could be due to medications, could be due to a new relationship. There are so many factors that can all produce a venous leak. So the answer is to put a ring on it.
And that's the for most people that's the answer. Like unless they have that very rare condition that they had from birth and they need some kind of surgical procedure, the cock ring
Right.
is the best bet. Okay.
So, I mean, the PD5 medications, which are, Viagra and Cialis being the premier ones, they put more blood in the penis. And that's really valuable for men who have significant diabetes or hypertension or atherosclerosis because their arteries are narrow. So you want to help get the blood in. But for most men's problem is that they get an erection, they lose it. And those men really benefit from rings because the rings with our data, the rings are more effective than pills. Because I'll pick up myself. My problem is not getting blood in the penis. My problem is keeping it there. So tadalafil does virtually nothing for me. Whereas putting a ring on it, I can stay hard for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and who wants to have sex for just a few minutes?
Right, exactly.
That's like just having a cocktail and then say, hey, I'm done.
Right, nobody wants that. So they use the device, they gather some data, it helps them to be better informed about like what they should do. And then are there suggestions like within like the app or something of like, you should try changing your diet or you should try this or that? How is that kind of counseled afterwards?
Yeah, we're building that out right now. Right now, our alerts are simpler. It would be, hey, Elliot, we're averaging 4 nocturnal erections per night, and now it's gone to 2. Get 4 more readings. If the average is still lower than 2, see a doctor. So our notifications are on that simple level. Or it could be, hey, Elliot, your average hardness during sex was a 7. On what 10 scale, make it up, or 6, and now you're at 9. Way to go! What has there been some change in your in your life or your medications? But but we will be providing more robust feedback. In the fall, we're working on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's an industry there too for like, I know a lot of I guess erectile dysfunction coaches and counselors out and around. They do a lot of, I guess, training online and in workshops and stuff, and some of that is a little woo-woo. It can be a little like a yoga teacher that just likes to be naked all the time. Although I am also a yoga teacher, and we talk a lot about engaging those muscles, your pelvic floor muscles, muscles around your genitals, and I'm not sure if any of that really helps with erectile dysfunction, but it seems
I'm not sure either. But now you could actually evaluate it and you can get objective, actionable, and also personal data because it could be valuable in some people and not in other people. We don't know. And one of the problems with a lot of medical research is that, hey, we studied 12 men with pelvic floor issues. But what exactly? Tell me what the pelvic floor issues, because I don't know if I have that particular one. And they went from a 3+ on the erectile hardness score to a 4. Well, the numbers are usually really small, and the data is not personal. So I'll pick on a couple of things. Oral supplements. We have not found anything to work. So in the nutraceutical industry is enormous. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry, and I won't show you the products. I don't want to diss these companies, but I get 1 product a week, probably sometimes 2. We haven't found beetroot, maca root, horny goatweed, ashwagandha, nitric oxide tablets. We haven't found sublinguals. We haven't found any of these things to be effective. We are working with L-citrulline right now. This company testing their L-citrulline product, utilizing our technology in 50 men, and that research will be published in about 2 months. I have seen some promising results in some men, and the great thing about, again, if you're following the technology, you get data that's about you, not about it's not generalizing. On the injectable side, we've the impact of testosterone that we've seen has been variable. Some men get better, some men don't. Men can titrate their dose if they have data. Do I need to jack my body up to 1,200 testosterone level, or am I okay at 800, or is it helping at all? And that's been interesting, as well. So, for pelvic floor, we have some men reporting better numbers. We have others saying, no impact. I'd like to see a larger study. Sometimes actually there's a reluctance to do larger studies because people don't want their business to be disrupted. So for example, with shockwave therapy, I'm certain that it works with men who have moderate vasculogenic disease. But for men who have really significant vasculogenic disease or don't have vasculogenic disease, meaning their ED is not the result of decreased circulation, it probably doesn't work at all. But I don't think the companies want that out there because they just want, hey, we'll take care of everyone. Give it a shot, give it a whirl. It's pretty fun. It's expensive.
And that's where they use little electrodes or something on your penis. What does that process look like?
No, shockwave therapy is ultrasound. So it's a big probe like this, and it's sending shockwaves. E-stim is being used as well too, but we haven't found any. We have not formally tested it, but we've had a couple of men who report back to me that it doesn't. They get aroused and then they lose their erection, and I suspect it's because the amplitude and frequency of the electricity that's being used arouses the nerve and then it stuns the nerve. So to speak, it puts the nerve to sleep.
Yeah,
it's possible it could work, but again that's so valuable about having a device, about having data, because if you can track it, you can hack it.
Right, but there's so many different causes for erectile dysfunction. But it sounds like, and I used to be of the mind that it's always a mental thing. If you have some kind of stress or something going on, that was always my thing. I didn't realize that it could actually physically be something not working in the body at a certain age, especially. But it sounds like a lot of what you're supposing is that it's cardiovascular. You have a heart problem if you're not getting erections the way you should be.
Yeah, 50% of men by age 50 have ED. It can't all be in their head. It's 70% by my age, and I recognize there are issues, psychological issues, but it's the papers that show that nocturnal erections are a leading decrease in nocturnal erections are a leading indicator of men's cardiovascular health are definitive. So we know that heart disease, vascular disease, can cause ED, and we also know that medications that prescribe blood pressure and SSRI and for depression and sleep can also cause ED.
Mm-hmm. So some good advice would be to get more regular exercise. I would assume, right? For if you have problems with erectile dysfunction, and eating well, eating less sugar, eating more protein. We don't know.
I think eating well is going to help you stay more attractive. But as to whether a protein diet is bad for your sexual performance, whether I gave a lecture in Jaipur, India, and it's just, hey, you're in India. You just take someone living on a Western diet and someone who's a Jain who just is a strict vegan, and now you have the ability to actually say, what is the impact of diet, as opposed to making a claim.
Right. Yeah, I've known some pretty horny vegans, so I'm not sure if it's the protein or not. I was a yogi for a long time. So as far as surgeries go, if you had erectile dysfunction, you could get an implant. What are different procedures they have for stimulating venous retention or getting more blood? What are their options?
The implants inflate. There are older implants that are permanent. You're just, we're going to make you 7 inches forever, and they're bendable, but they're not the one. Most of the implants today that are put in place, basically fill with fluid, and you can stay, and they don't, and assuming that there's no infection after the surgery, and the surgery's done well, there's no impact upon orgasms, and then you can stay hard as long as you want. On the hand, there are reasons not to get them. One thing, your insurance isn't going to cover it unless you. I mean, you can fly off to some. You can fly off and get these done if that's something that you want for cash. But for most people, you have to have significant erectile dysfunction and disease before insurance will cover it, and it's expensive.
It sounds like you're saying, not that erectile dysfunction causes heart problems, but it's a symptom of heart problems. It's a symptom of poor, cardiovascular stuff. It sounds like it's all linked. It's all linked, and it's a lot more important than we once knew.
Correct. It's people the tendency in doctors' behavior reflects this. The tendency is to kind of pay little attention to the sexual system. So, doctors don't ask. I've never been asked how's your sex life? How's your marriage?
Right.
That doctors in general don't warn people about the sexual side effects of medication. They don't think about it. But sexual health is really important to people, really, really important to people. And in addition to which, it can also reflect their cardiovascular health. We know that people have sex regularly, like every day, have lower cortisol levels. When cortisol is a stress hormone, we know that people have sex every day. They tend to get over the flu faster. It affects the immune system. If men have sex twice a week, there's a big study out of the United Kingdom shows that if men have sex twice a week, older men, their cardiac risk goes down significantly. So, what doctors we make recommendations about diet, exercise, sleep, medication compliance. We shouldn't make recommendations about sex, because you're talking about the pelvic floor before, but most of sexual response in men and women is not about the pelvic floor. It's about which involves skeletal muscle. It involves smooth muscle. And you can't go to the gym or do yoga. However, I know things are valuable. I'm not dissing those things, but you can't go to the gym and work out your smooth muscle. You have to use it. And to draw an analogy, if you or I decided to go on a 2-week fast and then decided to go to eat a really rich meal, we just vomit it up because the smooth muscle in our intestines will have atrophied. So the same thing happens with sex. If people don't use it, they lose it.
You mentioned that you're working on some products for women too. Are those already available, or is there anything you can tell me about those?
No, but I can tell you about them. So we're coming out with a vibrator that attaches to our rings for both that people can use during penetrative sex. They can also be used by men and women for masturbation. But the big product for women is the tech product for women. We don't have a name for it yet. We kind of jokingly call it a clit bit. But we're going to be able to measure clitoral health the way we can measure the health of the penis with a male device. And women have more problems, and of course they like to blame those problems on men, but they're really the result of pharma. So postmenopausal women have all the same problems that men do with diabetes, hypertension, atherosclerosis, obesity. But premenopausal women take hormones and SSRI antidepressants. Men don't take hormones, and men take SSRI antidepressants much less than women do. And both those things have a significant impact on a women's libido. So utilizing technology, again, you can track it, you can hack it, you can say, gee, this birth control is affecting my clit, or this antidepressant, I can't have an orgasm on it. We have tested it on 38 women. We are trying to raise money for it right now, and I'll bring it out anyway in 2025. But I can bring it out faster if we raise money.
Right. Has it been harder to raise money for a product like that than a cock ring, or is it similar?
We have been able to. All the money in the company is all my money. There's a real reluctance to invest in sex.
Well, I mean, personally, I have a sex podcast. I think I probably would be a lot bigger of a podcast at this point if it weren't about sex. Like if there was something else that I wanted to make a podcast about, because in a lot of ways it's hard to market a sex podcast. And when I have guests on, very few of my guests want to be named by their real names or seen, their actual faces being seen on promotional materials. So sex is still super taboo for a lot of people.
unfortunately.
Well, I'm not inhibited. You can use my name and show my face.
Okay, cool. I figured as much. Um, so you've invested so much of your own money into your company and your own product. You obviously utilize the product yourself. You usually, how long have you been using the FirmTech products for?
Well, the tech ring I don't use all the time. You know, when it, I check my data probably once a week with a tech ring, and or if we make a change in the R code, if we make some change in the analytics, then I'll evaluate the new update after it comes out. You know, we're in the Google and Apple stores. The maximum performance ring, I don't have sex without it, and I never used cock rings regularly until about a year and a half ago, and we came up with this device, the maximum performance ring, which has no technology but is designed to prolong ejaculation. Why would I have sex without it? It's a better orgasm. I mean, my ejaculation goes from 4 seconds to 7 seconds. That's profound. I mean, you probably like me think, hey, I'm a connoisseur of my own orgasm. Why wouldn't I have but I have something's better, why wouldn't I use it? And one of the things we've noticed is the difference in attitude between gay men and straight men towards cock rings. Straight men, like at medical conventions, we joke that you can ask one question to tell the difference between a gay doctor and a straight doctor. Do you use a cock ring? Gay doctor, yeah, last night. You got a better one? Straight doctor, oh, I don't need that. They go right to male pride and male insecurity as well. Mm-hmm. And my point to them is, it's not about need, it's about want. Do you want to last longer, get harder, have a more intense orgasm? Do you want your partner to be happier? Every guy wants that, whether they're straight or gay. And the problem is that cock rings have become associated with, in the straight mind at least, with fetish culture. And I'm not talking about cock rings that are made out of wood or leather or metal. And that's fine. People want to play with them. I'm not dissing that. I recognize the fun that people can have with those materials, and they can look quite good. But those things are more like cock jewelry. I'm focused on cock rings that are going to improve man's performance, and if you improve man's performance, his partner's going to be happier as well too, male or female.
Mm. So the product you just held up, it looked like it's like a loop, it's like a little lasso, and then it looks like there's like a little hook on it.
Yeah, it goes on differently. So our rings don't get slid down the shaft of the penis.
Yeah.
Our rings get wrapped around the balls, and then they get hooked. So they look like that.
Oh, it hooks on itself. Oh.
It hooks on itself, right. So the hook the hook
cool.
makes it easy on, easy off. Yeah, we've patented it. It'll be copied, but it's we want to make it as easy as possible for people, and we want people to feel safe. I'm 71, I'm lean, I can look down and I can see my dick. Most guys my age look down and they see belly. If you take a guy who has, I'll just have a hypothetical. The guy has borderline diabetic. He takes 2 medications that can affect his erections. He also has a problem. He drinks a little bit too much, and now he's with a new partner. And he's anxious. Last time he had a new partner, he couldn't get it up. He already lost his erection. That guy ideally doesn't want to fumble. He doesn't want to fumble around with a ring, but he can't even see his belly, see over his belly, see his dick to put it on. So this closure, the hook closure, makes it real easy for that guy just to wrap it on. Since our rings don't block the arterial flow in, a man can put them on hours before he's going to have sex. It doesn't have to interrupt sex. It's like going to be put on discreetly.
Oh, that's really cool. And also, I mean, I've only used a cock ring for fetish reasons, and probably in my 20s, which wasn't that long ago. But I was always like afraid of not being able to get it off. The thing was terrifying.
Yeah. Well, background, I'm an emergency medicine doctor, and I've seen, I've had to call down to maintenance to get saws, to get stuff off. And some of the stuff with metal, they got to go to the operating room. They got to put to sleep because it requires a diamond bladed saw in order to get them off. And then things like leather shrink. Wood can shrink too. It can expand and then shrink. Wow. Look, I mean, guys will put all sorts of stuff on their dicks, so the great thing about this is it's safe. It opens and closes with a hook. It's easy on, easy off. But it's not jewelry, and I kind of get them. I kind of get metal, but I never really could understand why people would put wood on it. I don't get that, but
I've never even heard of that, but it sounds painful. Sounds splintery. I don't need that. But yeah, metal, I think I have one metal cock ring, and like I said, I used it once, and I felt like I was like overly hard. Like I was like, this is almost too much. Like I felt like my penis was gonna explode.
well, with metal, people have to they have to push their balls through the ring first, and then anyway, it's hard and it's uncomfortable. Whereas ours, you just drop your balls in. This expands. You wrap it around,
Yeah.
and it's comfortable.
Do you have like a one size fits all situation?
Yeah, if men are in the 95th percentile or higher, we have a penis size calculator on our website. It can be too tight. Saying that, we have had guys with big dicks, and I have gotten, guys that send me JPEGs. Guys with big dicks are proud, and they'll tell me, well, I got, they'll show me their enormous, wrist size, penis, and we've had guys with big penises use it successfully, but we recommend that people who are in the 95th percentile or higher, they get the performance ring rather than the maximum performance ring, because the performance ring is a bit looser and easier to adjust for size.
Okay. So there's a couple options. But yeah, most men probably have around the same size penis. I mean, the average man is a certain size, right? And
It's a bell curve. And that even includes black men. Look, if you're half an inch longer and have another third of an inch in girth, you're bigger, but you're not that much bigger. A lot of guys, it's. I'll share an anecdote with you. My daughter's 29, and she recently got engaged, and they had a party, and the girls were talking about penises, and the girls were saying that their husbands or their fiancés, their boyfriends, they all have 7 inches or more. There's no fucking way. No fucking way that a bunch of white women in London going out with white guys because guys lie about their penises, and girls kind of fall into it as well too, and that the reality is most people are average, or most people, yeah.
So where can people find your stuff, find your firm tech?
Sure, but we are at myfirmtech, myfirmtech.com, myfirmtech.com. We're in Amazon, but of course there's no reason to give more money to Jeff Bezos. He's got plenty of money. We'd much rather you come to our website and buy products online.
Awesome. And do you how do you find people? Like, how do you find people for like your studies? Like, do you have like volunteers? Do you like enlist certain firms to get people to volunteer?
That's a great question. Yeah, we most of the studies the research we ask for volunteers. So we have 2 studies we're about to initiate, and so if people even just join our email list, and we have people who don't buy product, they just join the email list because they want information, and they'll say, hey, if you are going to do a study, keep us in mind. So when we do studies, they're usually discounts, there's some reward or something, something being given to them. So we have 2 studies right now. One about to start. One is to compare, because we have done one study on the subject, but it's going to be a large number, to compare what's more effective, the ring or tadalafil. And we have another study that's going to start soon, of which we're going to look at penis pumps. So I'm certain that men can make their penises bigger with penis pumps, but I'm more interested in the medical side. Will a man with ED, can he improve his performance with a penis pump? Or can a man without ED improve his performance with a penis pump? And by performance, I mean, is he going to get harder while having sex? Is his erectile dysfunction going to improve, while using a pump? And that study should start in about 6 weeks, because there is no medical research about pumps, and so many men are pumping that there's a need to actually figure it out scientifically.
Have you noticed any correlation and like loss of sensitivity or anything when it comes to like men who are uncircumcised, versus circumcised? Do you have any data on that through your
Don't
process?
have to answer that. There are surveys, And there are surveys done on men who have been uncircumcised, and then they're not cut, and they get cut usually not for aesthetic reasons, but people get cut later on in life because they develop an infection.
All right.
And there seems to be a slight tilt in the direction of more sensitivity in men who are uncircumcised over men who are circumcised. Although in the same studies there are guys who say, no, I got a lot more sensitive. So I don't have an answer to that question. I don't think that's not what we're going to be about, because I don't think you're ever going to get enough men where we have data to study that. Well, it could be done.
Right.
I mean, it could. If there is a urologist out there who wants to study that, we would give them the tech ring to get that assessed.
And certainly both would benefit from your products, it sounds like, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Most of the people who buy our device are uncut.
Okay. So are most of your customers like American? Are the most of them in other countries, or is it kind of all over the place?
It's about 70% American, but we now sold over 12,000 devices. But early on, we did a survey of 50 men. That was one of the questions that we asked. So actually, but what I just said is really it was in a slightly more were uncircumcised. But I don't really know where it is right now.
Well, thank you so much, doctor. I mean, this is really interesting. I don't currently have issues getting an erection, but I feel like it's on the horizon, at least. I'm almost 40, so it's probably going to happen. I mean, I'm assuming if 50% of people... I'm pretty average.
You look like you're 32. I would have guessed early 30s.
Well, then hopefully that'll help. Everything looks early 30s, yes. Even the penis. But I credit that to yoga. That's one thing I do credit to yoga is my youthful glow. But I think this is something that I would love to know more about. I mean, I'm a big wearables person. I have an Apple Watch. I'm looking at like the Oura Ring for my finger. I'm starting to want to, check what my sleep is like using some kind of like sleep device. So why not, watch my nocturnal erections while I'm at it?
This is for me, this company is a legacy. I've done other service companies in healthcare, but what we're doing is going to change urology and sexology. We might not make the big money. It could be Medtronic, the Boston Scientific, a company with a lot more resources. But I'm confident that in 2 or 3 years, if a man who's 45 goes to a doctor with ED or with heart disease for that matter, they're going to want this data as well.
Thank you so much, Dr. Elliott. That was amazing. I am so happy to have had you on the show. And I literally learned so much. Also, I feel like so manly now. I feel like we just talked about our dicks, had some male bonding. I don't think I talk about my dick ever anymore. Literally, I only talk about my dick with gay guys. And Dr. Elliott's not gay, but like, I do miss having gay friends. I love talking about my dick. And since moving here, I feel like I've like been masquerading as like, not like a woman, but like I've been pushing myself deep into my feminine parts of my non-binariness. And it's almost like I am a woman in order to like make straight guys want to sleep with me, but they still haven't. So I don't know, maybe I should just ditch those efforts and just go full cock. Just like the cock of the walk, dick dock, cock. That kind of thing. That's a thing. That's a personality type. All right, thanks guys for listening, and please check out Dr. Elliott Justin on the interwebs. And please, rate, review, subscribe. Please email us, makesexwithmepodcast@gmail.com with any queries. And I hope you guys are having a wonderful Pride. And I hope you guys are interested in prolonging your sexual lives and health and your libido and taking care of your poles as well as your holes. I hope you're filling your holes with whatever makes you happy. Maybe one day there will be some kind of a device that measures your asshole. Bye-bye.